Imagination is the only reality. Introduction. For those who have sensed that something in this world doesn't quite add up. For those who've looked around and thought, this can't be all there is. For the silent dreamers, the invisible architects of reality, who never knew they were creating it all along. This message is not new. It is ancient, timeless. It's not a trend. It's not a technique. It is the secret thread that runs through every miracle, every answered prayer, every transformation that ever seemed impossible, until it happened. And here it is in one sentence: imagination is the only reality. Welcome to the Middle Book, the channel where every page is a portal, lifting the veil on higher consciousness. You've been told life is what happens to you. You've been trained to think that what you can touch, see, measure, or earn is what's real. But the truth is deeper, older, infinitely more powerful. Because before the bank account, before the diagnosis, before the heartbreak, before the success or the fall, there was a thought, there was a feeling, there was a picture behind your eyes that the world eventually caught up to. You didn't just witness your life, you dreamed it, quietly, unconsciously, persistently, into being. This voice is not here to give you permission. You don't need it. This voice is here to remind you of something you already know deep in your bones, that you are not merely a participant in this world, you are the projector, and what you project becomes your world. Neville Goddard called it the secret of secrets. He said that your imagination was not a daydream, it was God, not a man in the sky, but the divine presence within you, imagining this entire experience into being. And now you are being asked to awaken to it, not just to use it when life gets hard, not to recite affirmations when things feel out of control, but to live from this truth, to think from the end, to become what you desire, not someday but now, inwardly, quietly, absolutely, because this is not magic, it's the law. Your life as it currently exists is not a punishment, it is a prophecy you've been fulfilling through thought. The words you whisper in silence, the mental movies you replay every night before sleep, the assumptions you carry in your nervous system, these are your prayers and all of them are being answered. The problem is most people don't know they're praying. They don't know that imagination is always on. They don't realize that the universe is not responding to what you want, it is responding to who you are being in imagination. You can say, I want abundance, but if you see lack, feel lack, and assume lack, then lack is what continues to show up. You can ask for love, but if you believe in your bones that you're unworthy, then rejection becomes your echo. It's not cruel, it's accuracy. Imagination creates. Not sometimes, not when you meditate, always, even now. So this is your invitation, not to try harder, not to hustle more, but to wake up to the real game behind the curtain. You are not here to react. You are here to remember that every image you entertain with feeling is a seed, and reality is simply the harvest. In this audiobook, we're not going to teach you how to beg the sky. We're going to teach you how to rearrange your inner world so the outer world must follow. We will explore how to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, revise your past to unlock your future, use inner conversations to transform your life, align your sleep with creation, trust that every imagined scene when believed in becomes fact. But more than anything, this is about power, not power over others. But the divine creative power was buried under conditioning, trauma, fear, and spiritual amnesia. This is about reclaiming the throne within your own consciousness, because you were never meant to be ruled by circumstances. You were meant to rule through consciousness. You are not here to chase, you are here to become. And imagination is how you become it. So let this be your moment, the moment the world behind your eyes became more real than the world in front of you. The moment you stopped asking, how, and started saying, thank you, it is done. Because it's not about what you see, it's about what you assume. It's about what you live inwardly, with faith, with feeling, with conviction. This is not a metaphor. It is the hidden architecture of reality. And now, it's yours to use. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The world is yourself pushed out. Everything in your life, everything you love, everything you hate, everything you wish would change, is not outside of you. It is you, a reflection, a projection, a mirror showing you not what you want, but what you are in imagination. This is the first revelation on the path of creation. There is no out there. The world is not separate. It is not an accident. It is not a neutral stage upon which you simply react. It is a living, breathing echo of your dominant inner assumptions. Your thoughts are not floating ideas. They are seeds. Your emotions are not side effects. They are magnets. And your reality is the harvest. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. What you assume to be true about life, about people, about yourself, becomes the filter that shapes what you see, what you attract, what you repel, and what seems to just happen. But nothing just happens. The world does not lie to you, it confirms you. If you believe people are selfish, life will introduce you to examples. If you carry guilt, the world will punish you. If you feel unworthy, the world will withhold its best from you. Not because it hates you, but because it listens to you, not your words, your state. Neville Goddard said it plainly, your outer world is forever reflecting your inner speech. You might believe you are being positive, spiritual, and hopeful, but if deep within your imagination still sees failure, still expects rejection, still clings to the identity of a struggler, then life will mirror back that movie. The law is unbreakable. What you are conscious of being you will see made flesh, not eventually, not someday, but always. The world has no power of its own. It simply reflects consciousness, and consciousness, your consciousness, is the only true cause. This is the uncomfortable truth. It's also the liberating one, because if the world is you pushed out, then nothing must change but you. And the moment you shift within, everything must eventually shift without. But here is the secret most miss. The world is not just a mirror of your thoughts, it is a mirror of your assumptions. And assumptions are deeper than opinions. They live in your subconscious. They are the truths you live from, even if you've never said them aloud. You may consciously want to be loved, but if you've assumed that you're not enough, if you've been carrying the silent belief that you'll always be abandoned, then love will feel just out of reach. Not because it's not available, but because you're living in a version of reality where you're not aligned with receiving it. So the question is not, how do I fix the world? It's, what am I assuming to be true? The people who trigger you, the patterns that repeat, the missed opportunities, the chronic delays, the way your life always seems to move in familiar loops. These are not random. They are revealing. They are showing you the contents of your consciousness. Not to shame you, to free you. Because if the world is yourself pushed out, then you can stop trying to control it. You can stop trying to convince, to chase, to fix everything out there. You can go back to the root, the only root that matters, your self-concept. Your self-concept is the foundation of your experience. It is the blueprint from which all outer manifestations arise. Change your concept of self, and your life will reconfigure to match it. But how? Not through force, not through pretending, not through wishful thinking, but through imagination. You must dare to imagine a new version of yourself, a self that already has what you desire, a self that is loved, secure, seen, and fulfilled, a self that walks in alignment with truth. And then, you must live from that version, not waiting to see it in the mirror, not hope it arrives later. You must assume it now. You must accept it as real before it shows up. Because the mirror cannot change first, the image must change in you. That's the law. And here's the miracle. The moment you persist in a new assumption, without contradiction, without wavering, life will rearrange itself to validate your new state. People will treat you differently. Doors will open. Old problems will dissolve. New patterns will emerge, because the outer world has no choice but to conform. It is you who pushed out. So start now. Not with action, with an assumption. What do you wish to see in your world? Then assume it within. Say it internally. Feel it emotionally. Visualize it until it becomes more familiar than doubt. Then walk as if it's done. This is not a game. This is your superpower. You are not a victim of reality. You are the author of it, and the pen is imagination. Let the world show you what you believe, then dare to believe something higher, and watch as everything changes, because it must. Chapter 2. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. There is a doorway, not out there, not in the sky, not in the future. It is a doorway within you, and the key to unlocking it is not effort. It is a feeling. This is the sacred formula Neville gave the world. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the hope, not the desire, not the waiting, watching, wishing, the feeling. Because feeling is the secret. To imagine something is not enough. To visualize it once is not enough. You must inhabit it. You must wear it like skin. You must feel it as though it were already yours, because in truth, it is. Consciousness is not linear. Time, as you know it, is not fixed. Creation is finished. That means the version of you who already has the thing you desire already exists. In the quantum field, in the mind of God, in the eternal now. It is done, but that version of you lives in a different state, and the only way to enter that version is to match its frequency now, not later. Not once did it show up. Now. That's what Neville meant. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Do not try to get it, but to go within and feel from it. It is the difference between looking at a dream and stepping into it, between wanting love and being loved, between chasing abundance and embodying abundance. Most people imagine their goals. They keep the desire just out of reach. They visualize a beggar peering into a feast. But imagination used correctly is not about longing. It is about possession. You must imagine from the end. You must feel from fulfillment, not toward it. Because when you feel as if it is already yours, your subconscious accepts it. Your nervous system begins to believe it. Your actions subtly change. Your energy shifts. And the world, like a precise mirror, responds accordingly. This is not about pretending, it's about alignment. If you desire peace, you must first become peaceful within. If you desire wealth, you must feel what it's like to live free from the fear of lack. If you desire healing, you must feel whole in your imagination before your body catches up. The world says, I'll believe it when I see it. But Spirit says, you'll see it when you believe it. Because your belief, felt in imagination, is the cause. Everything else is effect. So how do you begin? You close your eyes, you silence the noise, and you choose, consciously, intentionally, to step into the scene. You see yourself already having what you desire, not watching it like a movie. Living it. You touch the doorknob of your new home. You hear the voice of someone saying, I'm proud of you. You taste the celebration. You breathe the air of that version of you. And most importantly, you feel it. You feel the relief. You feel secure. You feel the joy. You feel the subtle knowing. Yes, it is done. Even if nothing has changed on the outside, you live in a new inner world, and that world begins to crystallize into form, not instantly, but inevitably. Neville said, to impress the subconscious, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had the desire been realized. In other words, you must practice the presence of your answered prayer. You must make it familiar. Because the subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition, emotion, and felt reality. This is why visualizing without feeling is powerless, why affirming without belief goes nowhere, why does effort without inner conviction create burnout, not results. Feeling is the magnet, feeling is the portal, feeling is the proof. But here's what stops most people. They wait to feel it until something changes, but nothing will change until you feel it first. You must feel wealthy before the money. You must feel love for your partner. You must feel well before the diagnosis shifts. You must feel chosen before anyone picks you. And when you do, the world begins to echo the new script. People show up. Opportunities arise. Solutions appear. Reality molds itself around the state you've entered. Because creation doesn't start in the outer world. It starts in your inner sanctuary. And that sanctuary is imagination. So today, stop thinking about what you want. Start feeling it. Ask yourself, if it were done, how would I feel? If it were true, how would I walk? If I already had it, what would I be thinking about instead? And then assume that posture, think those thoughts, speak from that place, rest in that vibration. You don't need to fake it. You don't need to force it. You only need to visit the end again and again until your soul accepts it as home. Because when the inner shift happens, the outer must obey, not by magic, but by law. So if there is one practice to make sacred, let it be this. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let that become your prayer. Let that become your worship. Let that become your identity. And the life you once chased will begin to chase you. Chapter 3. Rewrite the past, rewrite your life. There is a lie you've been told since birth. The past is fixed. That is what happened, is what must forever define you. But the deeper truth is this. Your past is not set in stone. It is set in memory. And memory lives inside imagination, which means you can change it. This is not delusion. It is divine authority. Neville Goddard called it revision, the sacred art of going back, not with sorrow, not with shame, but with power, with intention, with creative sovereignty. Because what lives in your memory is not the event, it is your assumption of what that event meant, and what you assume to be true about your past becomes the invisible script for your future. If you believe you've always been overlooked, you'll unconsciously recreate scenarios that prove it. If you feel abandoned by someone long ago, you may live in fear of connection today. If you carry the pain of a loss, a betrayal, a failure, that pain does not stay in the past. It lives in your imagination, and your imagination shapes your reality. But here's the miracle. You are not trapped in that timeline. You can return. You can relive it differently. And by changing it in your imagination, you change what your subconscious believes. And when the belief changes, everything else must follow. Because the law doesn't care when the seed was planted. It only cares about what you are watering now. So how does revision work? You go back in your mind to the scene that wounded you, the memory that still tugs on your heart, the conversation that left you broken. The door was closed, the rejection that still echoes. And you step into it with a new awareness. This time you are the author. You rewrite the moment. You see the person respond with kindness. You hear the words you needed to hear. You imagine the opportunity being granted. You see yourself standing tall instead of shrinking. You don't erase the memory. You elevate it. You transform it into what should have happened. Not for the world's sake, but for your own inner liberation. Because what the subconscious remembers, it repeats. And when you revise the memory, you rewire the pattern, you change the emotional code, you plant a new assumption, and that assumption becomes the new architect of your life. This isn't fantasy, it's spiritual surgery. You are not lying to yourself. You are reclaiming the truth that was buried by fear. The truth that you are worthy, that you are loved, that you were never too late, never too small, never forgotten. You are teaching your inner world a new story, a story where you are safe, seen, chosen, and empowered. And that new story begins to write itself onto the pages of your present. Neville said, change the feeling of the past and you change the future. Because the past only lives where you keep repeating it. You can keep rehearsing your pain, or you can revise it. You can keep calling yourself broken. Or you can declare, I was never broken. I was becoming. You can keep blaming the moment that hurt you. Or you can become the creator who transforms it. And once you do, your outer world will begin to shift. Subtly at first, then unmistakably. People will treat you differently. The same patterns will start to dissolve. New doors will open. Peace will return to places you thought were permanently scarred, because you stopped living from the wound and started living from the healing. You stopped being a prisoner of the story and became its rewriter. This is not spiritual bypassing, this is spiritual mastery. You're not pretending the pain didn't happen. You're choosing not to let it shape your future. You're reclaiming your authorship, and that changes everything. So tonight, before sleep, find one memory that still hurts. one moment that still casts a shadow, and go back quietly, gently, as the divine creator you are. Step into the scene and breathe new life into it. Feel it shift. Feel the new ending. Feel yourself walking out of that moment whole. Say the words you wish had been said. Receive the love that should have been there. Feel the success, the joy, the power of that moment going right. And once you've felt it, give thanks, not to the past, but to yourself, for becoming the one who can revise it. Because what you revise with faith, you rewrite your life. So don't let the past keep creating your present. Create a new past, and watch your present rise to meet it. Chapter 4. Imagination creates reality, not action. You've been told all your life that action is what makes things happen, that success belongs to the busiest, that change is the reward of hustle. The future depends on how hard you push. But here is the truth, Neville whispered to a sleeping world. It is not action that creates reality. It is imagination. Action is not the cause. It is the echo, the shadow, the after-image of what has already been conceived in consciousness. Before anything shows up in your world, it is born in the secret theater of your mind. Before the phone call, there was an expectation. Before the opportunity, there was a picture. Before the healing, the reunion, the breakthrough, there was imagination. And this is the law. Nothing appears in the external world unless it is first imagined in the internal one. We've gotten it backwards. We think doing comes first. But doing without believing, without imagining, is like pushing a boat without water. It may move for a while, but it's heavy, forced, unsustainable. Imagination is the current that carries you. It is the unseen movement beneath all visible things. So many people live in a cycle of frustration. They take action after action, they chase, they perform, they strive, but their inner world remains the same, drenched in doubt, soaked in fear, locked in old assumptions. And because imagination hasn't changed, reality doesn't either. Because the law does not respond to what you do. It responds to what you are in consciousness. You can act like a millionaire, but if your inner story is rooted in lack, that's what you'll return to. You can smile in public, but if you carry rejection in your imagination, the world will mirror it back. You can pray with your mouth, but if you fear in your heart, your prayers will bounce off the walls of your mind. Neville taught this again and again. The world is a mirror, and the mirror reflects your state of being, not your activity. Jesus didn't perform miracles by effort. He didn't hustle the universe into obeying. He saw the outcome in his imagination first. He felt it, believed it, and then acted from it, not toward it. When he fed the 5,000, he didn't say, "This isn't enough." He said, "Father, I thank you." He saw abundance in imagination, and that imagination produced the miracle. It was never the loaves. It was the vision behind them. And you too are capable of this, not because you work harder, but because you imagine better. Here is the law. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you assume. Action comes after the assumption. It's not the cause, it's the expression. When you assume wealth, your actions naturally reflect confidence. When you assume health, your steps become energized. When you assume love, your words begin to open hearts. But when you try to force the result without changing the assumption, you live in resistance. Action becomes labor. Effort becomes exhaustion. Manifestation becomes a struggle. So, how do you change it? You stop asking, "What should I do?" And you start asking, "Who must I be?" That's the real work. To change your inner state, to inhabit a new identity, quietly, faithfully, without proof. And when that inner state is solidified in imagination, your outer actions will align naturally. Not with effort, but with ease, because your steps will now carry the weight of belief. Your voice will now speak from knowing, and your life will begin to echo what's already been accepted as true. This is the divine pattern: imagination, assumption, expression. You do not act to become. You become within, and then you act. Think of it this way. If you were already who you wish to be, what would you do? How would you feel? How would you speak, walk, respond, and rest? Then do that. Not to fake it, but to match the frequency of the reality you've imagined. Because the action that follows the assumption is powerful. It is not guessing. It is an expression. You are not trying to get. You are revealing what you've already accepted as yours. That's the shift. From chasing to embodying. From hoping to assuming. From forcing to flowing. And here's the miracle. Once you live from imagination, life begins to organize itself around your new state. People will say, "You've changed. You're lucky. You're magnetic." But it's not luck. It's the law. You stopped moving from fear and started moving from fullness. You stopped trying to make things happen and started letting imagination lead. So pause now. Ask yourself, am I trying to force my life through action, or am I letting imagination go first? Have I truly assumed my desire is already mine, or am I still negotiating with reality? Remember this. The creative power is not in your hands. It is behind your eyes. It is in the silent images you dwell in daily. That is what shapes your world. Not the grind, not the effort, but the inner knowing. So let the world call you unrealistic. Let them say, "That's just imagination." Smile quietly. And remember, imagination is the only reality. Chapter 5. Inner conversations shape outer conditions. There's a voice in your head, one that never stops speaking. And it's not just talking to you, it's created for you. Every day, without knowing it, you are holding court in the most powerful chamber of creation, the theater of your inner conversations. And what you say there, what you repeat, assume, argue, or affirm, becomes your external world. Not someday, not if the universe decides, but now, automatically, by law. Because your life is not shaped by what happens to you. It is shaped by what you whisper to yourself about what happens to you. You think you're reacting to life, but you're not. You are responding to your own commentary. And your commentary is casting the roles, building the sets, directing the scenes of your reality. Neville said it plainly. Your inner speech is perpetually writing your story. And the world. It's the printed script. So if you don't like what you're experiencing, don't blame the scene. Go back to the writer. Go back to the voice within. Because everything you're living today, it was once spoken silently in your imagination. Think about it. What is your default inner dialogue? Do you speak as the loved or the rejected? Do you hear yourself expecting success or bracing for disappointment? Do you imagine people respecting you or letting you down? That's not background noise. That's the architect of your next chapter. And it never sleeps. Even when you're not paying attention, the subconscious is listening, recording, manifesting. If your inner conversations are filled with self-doubt, guilt, fear, or shame, then your world will echo those tones, not to punish you, but to reflect on you. Because the universe is not a judge, it is a mirror. And it does not respond to your outer words. It responds to your inner state, the one revealed through your self-talk. So ask yourself, what have I been saying to myself lately? Would I speak that way to someone I love? Would I let a stranger speak that way to me? And yet, we do it all the time. We rehearse failure. We repeat old wounds. We replay arguments that never ended. We assume rejection before it even happens. And then we wonder why life keeps confirming the worst. But here is your power. You can change the conversation. Right now. This moment. You can shift the script. Instead of "I can't," say "It's already done." Instead of "They never listen," say "I am heard and valued." Instead of "Nothing ever works," say "Everything is unfolding in my favor." And say it not as wishful thinking, but as the law. As a decree from the throne of your own consciousness. You may not feel it yet, but feelings follow thought. Reality follows attention. And the world follows the words you consistently feed your soul. So feed it differently. Your inner conversations are not private. They are public in slow motion. What you say in silence becomes what the world shouts back in form. This is why affirmations work only when they become your dominant inner voice. It's not about repeating them like spells. It's about believing them so fully that your inner world stops arguing. When you say, "I am chosen," but your inner voice whispers, "No, you're not," the law responds to the whisper, so you must keep speaking the truth until the whisper becomes silence, and then turns into agreement. Let your inner conversations be sacred. Let them be holy ground. Let them speak of who you really are, not who the past said you were. Because when you change the way you speak to yourself, you change the way the world speaks to you. People will begin to mirror your new story. Opportunities will arise where there were only walls. You will walk into rooms and feel a different energy, not because the room changed, but because your vibration finally said something new. And the law always listens. You are the author, the narrator, the speaker behind the veil, and the veil is thin. So take this seriously. Choose your inner words with the same care you'd choose your last breath. Let your inner dialogue be your declaration of reality. Let your thoughts become loyal to your vision. Let your assumptions rise to meet your desire. If you want peace, speak peace within. If you want love, speak love within. If you want success, assume it within. And if doubt speaks, speak louder, not with desperation, but with certainty. Say, "This is my new script, and I speak it not to become, but because I already am." You are not a prisoner of your inner voice. You are its master. And when you master that voice, the world listens. Because your inner conversations, they are not just private thoughts. They are living seeds, planted in the soil of your subconscious, watered by repetition, and harvested in form. So speak. Speak with faith. Speak with clarity. Speak from the end, and speak as if the entire world will repeat your words, because it will. Chapter 6. Sleep, the gateway to creation. Every night, a miracle happens. You close your eyes, the world fades, the body falls away, and you enter the most sacred doorway of all, the inner sanctuary of sleep. But this is no mere rest. This is not just recovery or escape. Sleep is a temple. And in that temple, you speak directly to the subconscious, and the subconscious speaks to the universe. Neville called sleep the most important moment of the day, because what you take with you into sleep, what you think, feel, and imagine in those final quiet minutes becomes the seed of tomorrow. In sleep, you surrender. You let go of control. And in that surrender, the deeper mind takes over. It is there, beyond willpower, beyond effort, that creation begins. Not in the morning routine, not in the hard work, not in the outer hustle, but in the imaginal act performed just before you fall asleep. Because in that moment, the veil is thin, the conscious mind is quiet, and the subconscious is listening, without resistance. So, what are you giving it? What is the last thing you say to yourself before you drift off? Is it worry, regret, loneliness, fear? Is it scrolling through other people's lives, imagining what you lack? If so, then you're not sleeping. You're programming. You're planting seeds of lack into the most fertile soil of your soul. And those seeds, they grow. But you can change this. You can reclaim the night. You can make sleep your sacred workshop, your quiet rehearsal room, your cosmic altar. And here is how. Fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not in the wanting, not in the beginning, but in the having. Close your eyes and become the one who already has it. Not later, not someday, now, inwardly, quietly, faithfully. If you seek healing, feel what it's like to wake up strong, to breathe easily, to laugh with energy again. If you seek love, feel the warmth of being held. Hear the voice of someone saying, "You are safe with me." Smile as if you are already known. If you seek abundance, drift into the dream with gratitude, not for what's coming, but for what is already done in the unseen. Your emotions are the code, your imagination is the signal, and your sleep is the sacred delivery system. You are not trying to force the future. You are stepping into it inwardly, so that it must take form outwardly. This is not superstition. This is not a bedtime ritual to soothe your nerves. This is the law. Neville said, "Man moves in a world that is nothing more or less than his consciousness objectified. And where is consciousness most programmable? In the final minutes before sleep. So protect that window. Guard it with reverence. Do not go to bed with the weight of what went wrong. Go to bed with the light of what is becoming. You don't need proof. You don't need anyone's permission. You only need an assumption and sleep. Because when you fall asleep, assuming a new reality, you bypass all resistance. You go straight to the subconscious, and the subconscious goes straight to work. And the next day, reality will begin to catch up. You'll notice small shifts, new opportunities, synchronicities. People are showing up differently. But most importantly, caveat, you will feel different. And how you feel is how you create. So let sleep become your temple. Let it become your meeting place with the divine. Let it become the portal through which new realities are born. Every night you are standing at the threshold, and you have a choice. Do you fall asleep as the wounded version of yourself? Or do you fall asleep as the healed? Do you replay the old movie of rejection? Or do you press play on the new script of love, joy, and power? Do not let the past tuck you in. Do not let the fears of the day follow you into the sacred night. Say instead, I am not who I was. I am already who I've chosen to be. And tonight I rest in the feeling of fulfilled desire. Because I know imagination is the only reality. Breathe in that knowing. Let it saturate your being. Let the last images you see in your mind be the ones you wish to see in life. Let your bed become an altar. Let your dreams become declarations. Let your stillness become a spiritual act of creation. And when you wake, the world will begin to rearrange itself to reflect the self you dared to embody in the quiet mystery of sleep. Chapter 7. Imagination is the divine itself. You've been taught that God is somewhere far away, in the sky, in the church. In the future, you must earn. But what if that was never true? What if God, the Creator, the Source, the infinite intelligence that gives rise to worlds, was not outside of you at all? What if God were within you, not as a metaphor, but as your imagination? Neville said it clearly, again and again. God and your own wonderful human imagination are one and the same. This is not blasphemy. This is a revelation. This is the lifting of the veil. The kingdom is not far. The divine is not hidden. The Creator is not beyond reach. You've been using it all your life. You just didn't know what it was. Every time you imagined something vividly, every time you saw it clearly, felt it deeply, believed it fully, you were praying, you were creating, you were moving the substance of reality into form, and that power, that presence, that consciousness that speaks in image and feeling, that is God in you. Imagination is not child's play. It is the architect of the universe. It is the invisible mind behind every form. It is the spiritual DNA of all manifestation. Everything you see around you, every building, every invention, every work of art, every movement of progress, first existed in someone's imagination. It is the womb of all creation. It is the unseen becoming seen. It is the divine choosing to move through you. So let go of the idea that imagination is fantasy. Let go of the belief that it's just a mental escape. Imagination is not what you do to distract yourself from reality. It is what creates reality. It is the language of God. It is the power that said, "Let there be light," and there was. It is the "I am becoming, I see." When you imagine with faith, you are not using God. You are expressing God. You are becoming a vessel through which the divine manifests form. This is why your inner world matters more than your outer effort. This is why what you dwell on becomes real. This is why the visions you return to, again and again, eventually crystallize as life. Because imagination is not passive. It is creative energy. It is divine substance taking shape through your consciousness. And that consciousness? It is sacred. It is powerful. It is responsible. You don't have to beg. You don't have to chase. You don't have to prove anything. You only have to imagine, not as someone hoping, but as someone remembers. This is who I am. This is what I choose. This is what I claim. And then you feel it. You feel the wish fulfilled. You feel the end result. You walk in it, speak from it, live through it. Because the divine does not respond to doubt. It responds to alignment. And imagination is the act of aligning yourself with the reality you know is possible, even if no one else sees it yet, even if the outer world hasn't caught up, even if your senses scream the opposite. Faith is not waiting for evidence. Faith is embodying the unseen, because you know the unseen is the real. Neville said, "Imagination is spiritual sensation. It is how the soul touches what the body cannot. It is how you commune with the source without words. It is how you speak in the language of heaven." So, what have you been imagining? What have you been emotionally rehearsing? Because that is your true worship. That is your real prayer. And it is being answered, always. You don't need more effort. You need more vision. You don't need more knowledge. You need a deeper awareness of who you already are. You are the image maker, the reality shaper, the one who breathes life into thought and calls it done. This is why Jesus said, "The Father and I are one." Not someday, not in theory, but in awareness. And this is why he also said, "The works I do, you shall do also." Because the divine is not exclusive. It is expressive. It is seeking to express through you, through the images you hold, through the stories you believe, through the visions you dare to enter as reality now. So close your eyes, go inward, and say to yourself, "What I imagine now, I become. What I feel now, I create. What I dwell upon now, I call into being." You are not separate, you are not powerless, you are not a servant to fate. You are the imaginal vessel of God. And when you accept this, not with pride, but with holy humility, you stop asking, "Will it happen?" and start saying, "It is done." Because when you imagine in alignment, the universe does not delay, it delivers, not because you begged, but because you remembered. That imagination is the divine itself. Chapter 8. Persistence over force. There is a subtle misunderstanding that stops most people from creating the life they desire. They believe manifestation requires struggle, that dreams are unlocked by grinding. Those results come only through relentless force. But that isn't how the universe works, that's how the ego works. Force is the language of fear, persistence is the language of faith, and the difference between the two is everything. Force is exhausting, it pushes, it clutches, it manipulates. It tries to bend the world from the outside in. It says, "If I don't do this perfectly, it won't happen." But persistence, real spiritual persistence, doesn't grasp. It holds the vision, it holds the feeling, it holds the assumption even when the world says otherwise. Because persistence is inner consistency. It is the refusal to let go of the inner reality, even when the outer reality lags behind. Neville said, "An assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact." This is not optimism. This is the law. Whatever you persistently imagine, you eventually experience. Not because you chase it, but because you stay faithful to it. Within. You don't force the seed to grow. You water it. You shield it. You give it light. And then you trust the process. Your imaginal seed is no different. It doesn't need pressure. It needs persistence. You don't need to make something happen. You need to keep imagining as if it already has. Even when it's silent. Even when it's slow. Even when nothing seems to be moving. Because the moment you drop the state, the moment you say, "It's not working," the moment you doubt the vision, you pull the seed up from the soil, and you start over, not because the universe failed, but because you changed your mind before the manifestation could take form. Persistence is power. Quiet, steady, unshakable. It doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It doesn't argue with time. It walks by faith, not by sight. Force says, "I need proof." Persistence says, "My inner world is the proof. Force says, "Why isn't it here yet?" Persistence says, "It is done, it is unfolding now." Force waits to feel secure. Persistence chooses to feel secure now and let the outer world rise to meet it. This is what separates dreamers from creators. Not how hard they push, but how long do they hold the inner state. Not desperately, not obsessively, but faithfully. Because your subconscious isn't impressed by emotion, it responds to repetition. It needs to see that your assumption is not a fleeting wish, but a settled truth. And when it sees that, when it hears the same tone in your thoughts day after day, when it feels like you're living from the end as if it were already done, it accepts the new reality. And then the world begins to shift. Not because you fought, but because you believed long enough to let the law work. So if you find yourself wondering, how do I get there? Ask instead, what am I persistently imagining? Is it what you want? Or what do you fear? Are you rehearsing doubt or assuming fulfillment? Because the law responds either way, and whatever you persist in becomes your life. So persist in love. Persist in the end. Persist in the version of you who already has it. Not with pressure, but with peace. Let your vision be quiet and clear. Let your state be chosen and renewed. Let your inner world become the sanctuary where the outcome already lives. This is the art. To stay in the state. To return to it when you fall. To occupy it again and again, until it becomes more familiar than your doubts. And when it becomes your dominant vibration, it becomes your dominant reality. So stop trying to force it. Stop trying to make it happen faster. You are not behind. You are not late. You are learning to persist. And that is the mark of mastery. Say it now. I do not need force. I live in the knowing. I dwell in the end. I persist, and it is done. Because the universe doesn't rush. It reflects. And when it sees a soul who no longer wavers, it aligns, not as a reward, as a mirror. So be faithful, be calm, be bold, be still. Hold the vision, feel the end. Refuse to leave the state. And what once felt impossible, it will become inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because you persisted. Chapter 9. Imagination as Prophecy. What if I told you that you're already a prophet, that every day without realizing it, you're declaring the future, not through rituals or omens, but through your imagination? Because what you imagine today, you live tomorrow. Not metaphorically, literally. What you continually dwell on in consciousness becomes the blueprint of your destiny. Imagination is not escape. It's not a dreamland. It is prophetic power, quietly shaping the path your feet will soon walk. You don't need to consult the stars. You don't need to wait for signs. You are writing your future with every inner scene, every felt assumption, every moment you say inwardly, "This is how life is." Neville said, "The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the spirit of prophecy, because feeling is the evidence of belief, and belief, when repeated in imagination, becomes fate." This is the forgotten truth. You are not predicting the future. You are creating it. And the tool is imagination. When you rehearse worst-case scenarios, you are practicing prophecy. When you expect disappointment, you are writing tomorrow's script. And when you imagine joy, love, breakthrough, not as a hope but as a lived inner experience, you are walking in divine authorship. This is not superstition. This is the science of consciousness. Your subconscious does not know the difference between what you vividly imagine and what you physically experience. So when you step into a scene in imagination and feel it as real, you impress it upon the deep mind. And the deep mind sets the universe in motion to match that vibration. Life begins to bring the characters, arrange the circumstances, and bend reality to make your prophecy real. But here's the tragedy. Most people are prophesying what they don't want. They say, "I hope things work out," but they imagine them falling apart. They say, "I want love," but they relive abandonment in their mind. They say, "I believe in change," but their inner world is stuck in the same old story. And then, when those fears manifest, they say, "See, I knew it. Yes, because you imagined it. You rehearsed it. You felt it in your bones. You became the prophet of your own pain. But you can turn the page. You can speak of a new outcome by choosing a new inner movie. Prophecy is not about predicting, it's about selecting, and you select with feeling. So what are you selecting now? What do you continually return to in the silence of your mind? Is it lack or sufficiency? Is it rejection or belonging? Is it failure or fulfillment? Because of that internal loop, it is not just a thought pattern, it is the seed of events. And when that seed is watered with repetition, emotion, belief, it grows. It becomes what you call reality. But it was never random. It was always the echo of your inner prophecy. So dare to imagine differently. Dare to walk by a new vision. Dare to feel the outcome you desire. Not because it's proven, but because you've chosen. This is the great reversal. You don't imagine because you see it. You see it because you imagined it. You don't wait for proof. You become the proof. You say, "This is how my life unfolds. This is the ending I expect. This is who I am becoming, and because I feel it now, the world must follow." Let your imagination prophesy blessing. Let your visions speak of healing. Let your inner world become a sacred oracle of peace, power, and divine fulfillment. Speak to yourself in images. Use your imagination as a tool of trust. Enter the scene again and again until it becomes more real than the past. And when doubt comes knocking, as it always does, respond not with panic, but with presence. Say, "I've seen the end, I've walked it in my mind, and I know how this story goes." Because that's the difference between a wanderer and a creator. A wanderer hopes. A creator imagines with conviction. A wanderer waits for signs. A creator makes their imagination the sign. And when you hold the feeling, with love, with certainty, with sacred attention, the world is compelled to bring it forth. So tonight before sleep, don't just reflect, prophesy, don't just hope for better. See better, feel better, assume better. Walk through the corridor of your mind and choose the scene that uplifts you. And then dwell there, not once, but until the future has no choice but to bend, because imagination is prophecy, and you are its voice. Chapter 10. The Law and the Promise. There are two pillars that support everything Neville taught, two sacred truths that stand behind all creation, all transformation, all awakening, the law and the promise. Understand these two, and you hold the keys to life. Ignore them and you wander, still powerful but unaware. So let's begin with the law. The law is simple, unchanging, precise. It says, whatever you assume to be true in imagination, when felt with conviction and persisted in, must manifest in your world. This is not philosophy. It is spiritual physics. The law is not personal. It does not judge. It does not reward the good or punish the bad. It reflects. It echoes. It obeys. Whatever inner state you occupy, whether rooted in love or fear, joy or despair, worthiness or shame, it becomes your outer experience. This is why Neville taught the art of imagining from the end, because the law does not respond to effort. It responds to feeling. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you create a new vibrational pattern, and the law arranges people, events, and circumstances, not to test you, but to mirror you. The law is exact, unyielding, always working, whether you understand it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you use it consciously or let it run on autopilot. It is like gravity. Step off the ledge, and gravity pulls you. Assume a state, and the law delivers it. That is the law. It is the mechanism, the structure, the map. But then there is something deeper, more mystical, more holy, the promise. The promise is not about manifestation. It's not about getting what you want. It is about awakening to who you are. It is the inner revelation that you are not just the dreamer, you are the divine dreamer. You are God, dreaming yourself into form, then waking up within the dream. Neville spoke of this awakening often. He said that within every soul is a seed of memory, a memory of origin, of course, of union. And this seed, it sleeps until it is stirred. It sleeps beneath the desire for things, beneath the longing for change, beneath the efforts to create a better life. But eventually something happens, something opens, and you no longer seek to manifest, you seek to remember. You feel it in flashes, moments of awe, moments of silence, moments when the veil thins, and you realize you were never separate, you were never broken, you were never alone. You are the I am that imagined the world. You are the divine awareness, playing human for a time, until the time comes to return. And the promise is this, that return is guaranteed. No soul is lost, no being is forgotten. Every path, no matter how winding, leads back to the one. The law helps you shape your life. The promise helps you remember your origin. The law gives you power. The promise gives you peace. The law is about conscious creation. The promise is about divine identity, and both live within you. Use the law to imagine boldly, to shape your world with purpose and vision. But never forget the promise that beyond every dream, every desire, every goal, there is only the self, the eternal I am, the one who imagined the universe into being, now awakening within the very thing it imagined. This is the sacred paradox. You are the one creating the story. And you are also the one the story is about. The law says, you can have whatever you assume. The promise says, you are more than what you assume. You are the source behind it all. So as you manifest, don't just chase outcomes. Let each desire be a breadcrumb leading you back to the greater realization that the power you sought outside, it was always within. That the God you prayed to, it was never far off. It was the voice you used when you imagined, the hand you used when you shaped your inner world, the presence you felt when you said, I am. So honor the law. Use it well. Be deliberate in your assumptions, faithful in your feelings, persistent in your inner vision. But also, rest in the promise, the sacred knowing that you are not becoming divine. You are remembering that you already are. This is the harmony, the great balance, the hidden treasure of consciousness. You create with the law. You awaken with the promise, and both are yours, now, always. Chapter 11. Practical imagination, real-world application. You've heard the words, you've felt the truth. Now comes the most sacred question of all. What will you do with it? Because this isn't about theory. This isn't about collecting beautiful ideas. This is about transformation. The kind that begins not by changing the world, but by changing the imaginal lens through which you view it. Imagination is not a luxury. It's not something you use once a day in meditation. It is the engine of your becoming. And when you understand it, you begin to use it deliberately. You stop reacting. You start creating. Not occasionally, daily. So how does this look in real life? How do you bring imagination down from the cloud, send into the room where bills are due, relationships are strained, and dreams feel distant? You start by remembering one unshakable truth. Everything is consciousness, and consciousness can be rearranged from within. Let's say you want a new job. Most people update a resume, make calls, apply and wait. But you enter imagination, you go to the end. You close your eyes and hear the words, "Congratulations, we're thrilled to have you." You feel the weight of the offer letter in your hand. You imagine yourself walking into the building, confident, calm, chosen. You dwell there. You feel it until it begins to feel like a memory. You don't beg for it. You don't obsess, you assume it. And then you let the law do its work. Let's say your relationship feels broken. Don't speak of it as broken. Don't rehearse arguments. Don't tell the story that keeps you bound. Go within, close the door of the senses, and build a new scene in silence. You hear the laughter. You see the reunion. You feel the connection restored. You revise what was. You dwell in what is becoming. And you stop asking how, because your job is not the how. Your job is to feel the end. Let's say your health is failing. Don't affirm the sickness. Don't tell the world about your pain. Don't worship the diagnosis with repetition. Step into the temple of your imagination. Feel your body strong, flexible, and clear. Imagine walking without fear. Hear your own voice saying, "I've never felt better." Let that scene become more familiar than the symptoms. Let that version of you become the one you speak from. Not someday. Now, that is practical imagination. You don't escape life, you reshape it. And here's the miracle. The outer world begins to respond. It follows your new script. It catches up to the reality you've chosen inside. This is not magic. This is the law. The world must reflect your dominant assumption, so make your assumption holy. If you want something new, stop asking if it's possible. Ask if it's imaginarily real. Have you felt it? Have you walked in it? Have you dwelt there long enough for your subconscious to accept it? If the answer is yes, then it is done. You don't need confirmation. You need consistency. You don't need to explain it to others. You need to stay faithful to the end, because most people are living in reverse. They wait to see it before they believe it. They ask the mirror to smile before they do. But practical imagination means you smile first. You feel it first. You see it within, vivid, detailed, real. And then the mirror reflects it. That's how the law works. So make imagination your first response. Not worry, not problem solving, not fear. When something feels wrong, don't react to the current version of reality. Respond with vision. Close your eyes and assume the version where it's already resolved. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter what your senses say. It only matters that you persist. Because reality is not loyal to time, it is loyal to the assumption. And what you assume long enough, you eventually walk into. So use imagination in every room, before the meeting, during the storm, in the silence of the morning, and in the stillness before sleep. Let it become your companion. Let it become your navigation. Let it become the lens through which you live. And if you fall out of state, which you will, return. Return again and again to the end scene, to the wish fulfilled, to you who is already living it. That's the secret. Not perfection. Persistence, not force. Faith. And as you do, you'll begin to notice people respond differently. Opportunities arrive. Your mood lifts. The world seems to soften, open, and expand, because it's no longer the old script. It's the one you've written, felt, dwelled in, and believed. This is imagination made practical. This is creation made real. This is the Word made flesh. And it's available to you every moment, in every circumstance. So step in, speak it, see it, and live from it. Because the life you want, it is already waiting inside your imagination. Chapter 12. You are the dreamer and the dream. There comes a moment in every seeker's path when the lines begin to blur. The outer world, once so solid, begins to feel like smoke. The inner world, once dismissed, begins to feel like the truth. You realize that the walls around you were imagined, the roles you've played were chosen, the limitations you lived under were agreed upon by you. And if you dare to look deeper, you will see something so staggering, so luminous, so undeniable, that you are not merely a dreamer. You are the dream itself. You are not just creating with imagination. You are imagination, living, breathing, waking through form. You are the consciousness that imagined this entire life into being, not by accident but by design. Every face you've met, every challenge you've overcome, every joy, every heartbreak, every moment that cracked you open, all of it was part of the dream, your dream. And now you are beginning to awaken within it. This is the final revelation, the sacred paradox, the end of seeking, that you have been both the painter and the canvas, the actor and the stage, the voice and the echo. You have been dreaming yourself into every experience, and now the dream is remembering itself. It's why you're here, listening to these words, feeling them stir something ancient and beautiful inside you. It's not a coincidence, it's remembrance. You're not broken, you're blooming, you're not behind, you're exactly where you chose to be, in the divine unfolding of your own awakening. So what do you do now? You wake within the dream. You choose to imagine with sacred awareness. You speak not just as a person with desires, but as consciousness itself chooses its next experience. You stop asking, "Is this possible?" And you start asking, "What do I want to experience next as the dreamer of this dream?" You stop reacting to life and begin composing it, scene by scene, moment by moment, with the same care that a master artist gives to the brush. You say, "I am not waiting. I am remembering. I am not hoping. I am shaping." Because everything is an extension of you. The world is not outside. It's a projection, a reflection, a response to the tone you carry within. And that tone is imagination. You dreamed this far. You can dream further. You can. You dreamed yourself out of the pain. You can dream yourself into peace. You dreamed yourself into fear. You can dream yourself into freedom. Because the dream is fluid, and the dreamer is awake now. You don't need to escape reality. You need to inhabit it from a new level, with new eyes, with a new script. You are not a prisoner in someone else's story. You are the author, the narrator, and the hero. And as you persist in the new story, the world will conform. The people around you will shift. Not because they've changed, but because you've changed the version of them you choose to interact with in consciousness. The circumstances will soften, not because the external world has become kind, but because your imagination has become aligned. This is how reality works. From the inside out, from the unseen to the seen. You are dreaming with God. You are dreaming as God. Every time you say, "I am," you are invoking the creative power that formed galaxies. And when you say, "I am loved, I am abundant, I am whole," the universe does not argue. It delivers, because the dream responds to the dreamer's word. So speak with awareness, feel with devotion, imagine with joy, and live as if your inner world is the only world that matters. Because it is. Imagination is the seed, feeling is the soil, assumption is the root, persistence is the sunlight, and reality is the harvest. Now the garden is yours. This is not the end. It is the beginning of conscious creation, of inner sovereignty, of sacred remembrance. So say it now, softly with power. I am the dreamer and the dream. I imagine, and it is so. I remember, and I am free. Let that become your knowing. Let that become your daily rhythm. Let that become the place from which you live, move, and breathe. Because this is not fiction. This is not hope. This is the fabric of reality. Imagination is the only reality. And now you know it. And now you live it. And now you awaken.